Hi everyone, welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I'm Lisa Curcio. I'm using the Time for Tea bundle today. Coordinating framelits make it so easy to die cut this teacup and amazing other coordinating images in this stamp set. We're going to create a smaller card today, a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to give you some tips along the way to use the Designer Series paper packs to your advantage. Let's head over to the stamp table and let's get started on today's project. Here's a good look at the card we're going to be creating today. Isn't this cute? This size card has become incredibly popular and it works really well with small images. So keep that in mind as you're making other cards using the stamps you already have or new stamp sets that you're purchasing. The one thing I love about this Time for Tea bundle is the framelits. You're going to find that there's duplicate framelits in this set for the leaves and the flowers. So if you want to die cut 2 at a time, this is going to be an immense time saver. This sample includes coloring using markers. But in the video today, I'm going to give you an alternative method for making this card and still getting the color that you see here. My Whisper White cardstock has been cut. You're going to find the cutting dimensions down in the description of this video below. And I'm going to use my bone folder for that nice crisp edge on my card. I'm going to set that aside. I've cut a piece of balmy blue cardstock and a piece of the Coordinating Designer Series paper. This comes from the Subtles Designer Series paper stack. I'm going to add some snail adhesive to the back side. I'm going to be using the stripes for this panel, and I'm going to adhere these two together. I'm going to flip those over, and I'm going to add more adhesive to the back of this panel as well. And this is going to go on the base of my card. I've cut another panel very similar to the first using a different Designer Series paper in that pack. The great thing about the packages of the Designer Series paper is that you're going to receive numerous different patterns. I'll go ahead and mount this one, leaving a small border of color as well. For the variation today, I'm going to bring in a piece of balmy blue cardstock, and I'm going to use my Memento ink. I've pulled out the teacup from that stamp set. I'm going to go ahead and ink that up in my Memento ink, and I'm going to stamp that right here on that scrap. Remember, there's a framelit, so there's no fussy cutting. I'm going to use the marker, but I'm only going to use it to accent. By stamping it on the colored cardstock, you're going to find that it's going to save you a lot of time, especially if you don't have that specific marker. But I'm going to add a little bit of accent to here just to give you an idea of how you can provide a little bit extra color. And then for the tea, I've pulled out the crumb cake marker. And I'm going to add a little color to the inside of this cup. I'm going to lighten that up just a little bit. I'm going to give it a little shimmer too, and I'm going to use the clear Wink of Stella. Now there's alcohol inside this pen, so you're going to see that the color starts to dissipate a little bit. Also why it provides a little bit of shimmer. I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera or not, but boy is it pretty. Because of the pigmentation, you're going to want to make sure that you wipe off your Wink of Stella pen before you put it away. You wouldn't want to transfer any color from here to your next project. I've got my magnetic platform here, which is just my favorite way of die cutting my framelits. It is not required. You can use your basic platform. And from those framelits, I'm going to pull out the large scallop, and I'm also going to pull out that framelit to die cut that teacup. So I'm going to line that up on here. And because we have 2 different framelits, we're going to actually be able to use the Big Shot just once, get everything die cut at one time. Do you see how this is slipping? I'm sure that this has happened to you before. So I'm going to give you a tip. You can use washi tape, but I'm a fan of these small Post-it notes. So I'm just going to line up this die, and then I'm going to tape it down with my Post-it note. And then I'm going to put another clear mat over the top to protect it. And I'm going to crank this through. Any popping and cracking that you hear with the Big Shot is completely normal. It's just from the compression of the rollers. So we've got this real pretty die cut frame. And then we're going to have our teacup that's die cut as well. I'm going to place my silicone craft sheet here so that you can see a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the greeting inside the top area here of this little scallop frame. And I'm going to use my Memento ink once again. I've pulled out the words cheers from that stamp set. I'm going to stamp that here near the top. Remember our little teacup? I'm going to go ahead and flip that over. I'm going to put several dimensionals on the back side. I'm cognizant of putting a sufficient amount because I know that this card is going to get mailed, and I want to make sure that it doesn't sag as it goes through the mail meter. And then I'm going to mount my little teacup right underneath my greeting. This image is going to get mounted here in the center of this panel. I'm grabbing my adhesive, and I'm going to put adhesive on the back side. And I'm going to place that here. Rubbing from the back just to make sure I've got good adhesion there. Let's do some ribbon on the base of our card. Remember that we put the designer paper on here. I've cut several pieces of ribbon, and I'm going to teach you a little trick on how to save some ribbon. If you were to go around the entire circumference of the card base and then need to tie a bow, you're going to find you're going to need a lot more ribbon than what I'm going to show you here. I'm going to use my glue dots, and I'm going to put a glue dot on each of these raw ends, placing one here, and then coming around on this side and doing the exact same thing. I'm careful to place those raw ends where they're not going to show, which is going to be in the middle because that's where we're going to put that second panel. So I'm just going to line this up where I want it. I'm going to wrap it around the inside of my card, careful to make sure that it's going to be nice and flat and straight. And then I'm going to bring this across here and I'm going to tack it down. So the glue dots are doing all the work. And you can see that that's not going to show when we're finished. I've got another piece of ribbon that I'm going to bring up through the side, and turning my card sideways, I am going to tie a single knot, and I'm going to slide that over to the right. Remember, this card's a little bit smaller than what we would normally make, and it's going to fit in the envelope just fine. And then I'm going to make a bow. I'm going to pull that tight. Now, if your bow is uneven, let me give you a tip. Place your finger on the knot in the center, and then take your loose end, and then just gently pull. That will adjust the sizes of your loop without losing the tension of your knot. Something I learned many years ago that has worked extremely well. Now I'm going to come in and give these a little bit of a haircut because they're a little bit too long for my liking. And now I'm going to come back in with that other layer, and I'm going to add dimensionals to the back of this as well. This will sit up nicely over that ribbon. And I'm going to place one other dimensional here in the center, and then I'll take off the paper backing to these as well. Now, if you're having trouble getting the paper backing off like I am, it's because I keep my fingernails short. Take your nail and press it in the center of the dimensional. That helps to lift the outside paper edge, making it a lot easier for you to take those off. So I'm going to slide this over, and then I'm going to tuck this right underneath here, and I'm looking to center this, and then just tack that in place. So now, there we got our card. It's nice and simple. This is a card you could make a bunch of really quick. This is the one I colored with the markers, and I did add the Wink of Stella here as well. And this is the one I actually stamped on the colored cardstock. So they look very similar, but two different methods. A great way if you don't happen to have all the markers. Which one do you like best? I would love to know. Make sure that you check down in the description of the video below. You'll be able to get the cutting dimensions there. You'll find the Time 4T stamp set and the coordinating framelits in the annual Stampin' Up! Catalog. If you don't already have a demonstrator and you're interested in receiving a complimentary copy, I would be happy to send you one. Just leave me a comment below. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.